do not have it. You're live.
All right, folks, it is Monday night. It is time for live Q&A. And as you can see, we have a little bit different setup than we do usually for a good reason, because we have a guest. And our guest tonight is Billy Kyle.
Hey there, how's it going? What's up, guys?
What's up, guys? Billy Kyle here. So for those of you that don't know Billy, I'm sure everybody knows Billy, but Billy is a famous YouTuber and Instagrammer who also does really cool real estate photography and videography. And he's joining us. We did some cool content today, and we get some more cool content to record tomorrow. So he's in town for 2 days, and then we decided to bring him on here. So if you have questions for Billy, you should. Make sure you leave them in the comments. In the meantime, I will start to answer the questions that we have in here with the help of Billy. And then, let me see, let's say hi to a few people here. We already have 70 people watching. We have Nova Drone Footage, Curtis Warren is here, Richard Hooker, people we see here on a regular basis. None your business, all in one word.
Business.
Recovery One Drone, I didn't say that correctly, which we saw him this weekend in Las Vegas. We'll talk about that in a second. Travis Cheney is here, Lou is here, Walt Saxton is here, Jay Gilormini is here, John Jackson, Alex Blankenship, James Cox. We have official Green Diamond, Super 8mm 1, Joshua Fulton. A lot of folks here. Retired fire chief. I'm just scrolling. I see a lot of names. So
You're pretty popular.
I am. This channel. This has become a really cool Monday night kind of thing that we do.
That's awesome.
Last week we answered over 100 questions.
Nice.
In the 1 hour. So
Sweet.
yeah, people come in, ask their question. Let's talk about where we just came back from. The reason you're here is because you weren't very far. The Las Vegas Drone Show. First Drone Meetup. First annual. We had a great time, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love getting out and meeting, the people that are watching our videos, people that are making content themselves on drones. I mean, I think the drone industry is pretty cool, pretty strong. So it's just kind of cool to meet up with those people that you interact with online and just get like face to face with them. So
yeah,
it's fun.
I agree. Yeah, face to face was cool. There was a good discussion at one point on Saturday about a bunch of different topics.
Yeah.
At the restaurant, and then went to get some cool demos. We saw the Las Vegas Police Department doing a demo of their drone. They have a drone in a box DFR. No, not drone in a box, actually. Drone in a car. So drone in a car, the drone as first responder demo. So it's pretty cool because they do things a little bit differently than what we've seen. Typically DFR, drone as first responders, is something that we see from a stationary unit on top of a building, gets deployed when somebody reports a call. Instead, they have the drone in the car that they're able to deploy rather quickly. So they did a demo of that, and then be able to fly wherever. So it's kind of a mobile drone as first responder, which I thought was
It makes it a little less expensive. I mean, think about with a drone in a box, you can only cover a certain amount of area, but you put it in a car, now you're mobile.
Yep.
You can go anywhere and be up in the air. So
yeah, and then of course it's if you have enough of those all over the city, then you're good.
Yeah.
We talked about their approval that they had. We had a great discussion with the whole team that was there. So thank you for educating us on how you do things. This was a great meeting.
Red Rock Search and Rescue is also there too.
Red Rock Search and Rescue did a demo as well. We had Ken was there, Vic was there. We had who else was there? Quite a few people.
Yep.
Yeah, good times. Good
Fun.
times. All right, well, let's get to the questions. Nova Drone Footage says, how close to a freeway, highway, street can I fly my drone?
Are you gonna like quiz me? Like, is this gonna be like a quiz of like...
That's a quiz, that's
like,
right.
Hey Billy, what do you do every day? And
so,
what's your...
Billy gave us the answer, and then I'll give the correct answer after that.
Well, I mean, I would assume that it's just as long as you're not directly over, right? So you gotta be a couple feet right off of, right? I mean, I would assume just a buffer. Because you think about it, if the drone comes down, it's not gonna come down straight, right? It's gonna move with the wind or...
Yeah, move with the continuing,
Or if you're just
force.
hovering, right? I mean, the wind is gonna take it one way or the other, so it's not gonna be a direct downfall.
Yeah, so in theory, the FAA defines over people and over moving vehicle as being directly over, but you have to think, like you said, you're moving forward, and if you lose a motor, if you lose a battery, the drone is going to keep on going. It's not going to fall straight down. So you have to give yourself a little bit of a buffer. But yeah, in theory, that's kind of what it is.
Something cool with the Air 3S that I like is now, and they should enable this with every drone, but you can look down with the vision assist feature.
Yep.
So it can really just give you good understanding if you're looking at your subject, like where you're at as you're flying. If you want to make sure you're like close to something, you can make sure you're not over road or over busy area and you're staying where you need to be. So good little feature.
And as far as, you talk about the freeway and the highway and the streets, it all depends if there are cars. If there's no cars, you can be flying over the road, no problem. That's just like everything else. So the FAA doesn't want you to fly over people or over moving vehicles directly. I see Tom is in there, Lens Capture Online, and says, thank you so much to you, Scott, and Jason and Billy for supporting us. You are very welcome, Tom. This was a great event, especially for a first event.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it was a first event. So
great turnout and just a good structure throughout
Yep.
the whole thing.
Yep, that was really cool. Looking forward to next year. Travis says, with Christmas less than a month away, are there any plans to do a Black Friday buying guide that includes drone and accessories? Ooh, that's a good question.
My guide would be buy the Mini 4K. It's going to probably be so cheap.
Yeah,
Mini
the
4K and Neo is going to be
Mini 4K, the Neo is probably going to be on sale.
Yeah.
My guess is that the Air 3 is probably going to be on sale.
Trying to clear some stock.
Don't think the Air 3S will be, but
and I mean, look, Mavic 4 is potentially around the corner, so you could see some deals on Mavic 3 as well. I mean, from classic to pro, they might try to clear some house during that.
That's when we know that there's a new one in the making, typically.
Yep.
Walt says, please discuss the lawsuits between DJI and the US. So we've talked about this. We have a video in News Update where we talk into more detail about this. But essentially, for those of you that don't know, DJI went after the Department of Defense, the DoD, suing them because the DoD added them to the list of Chinese military companies. So DJI is considered to be a Chinese military company, which DJI claims they are not. And more information came out of this, basically saying that the reason the DoD put them on there is because there were some people that hold patents that are related to military technology, and the name of these people was the same as some DJI employees. But DJI is also saying, well, listen, because this person has the same name as this person, there's another Billy Cal, by the way, who's a famous musician. It's like
there
saying,
is, yes.
Yeah. He's a jazz,
Yes.
a jazz player.
Pianist.
Yep. So it's the same thing as saying, well, Billy Cal over there has patents to, or is a terrorist, so you're a terrorist because you have the same name, right? So that's kind of what they were saying, and so that's kind of the latest. We haven't heard much more about it. I'm sure more information will come out.
They're finally going on the offensive here, though.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I feel like they're trying to do anything they can to almost defame their name, like putting them on the entity list, making them a Chinese military company, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all these things to almost make their brand just lesser in the United States, but it's not working within the drone community.
It's not, because we made that comment when we were at the drone event this weekend, and I said, let's line up all the Air 3S that are here.
Yeah.
And it was just like so many people were flying those drones, and we've talked about people that were having issues with customs getting it in, right? Ben,
Yes.
Ken
Yep.
had an issue. You didn't, but Ken did have an issue. Ours actually went through pretty quickly. I think it was in there for 2 or 3 days only. But the bottom line is, people are still able to get those drones. So
Yes.
it was kind of a big middle finger to those politicians that are trying to find ways around to ban these drones, which is just mind-blowing. It's not working. It's not working. Whatever you're doing, it's not working, because
Keep doing what you're doing. It's not working.
99% of the people that were there were flying either an Autel drone or a DJI drone,
Yeah.
because that's all that's available for recreational pilots, and that's what this event was about.
And it's probably all that's worth using on the DFR side too.
Well, yeah, well, that too, yeah, obviously. But so yeah, I thought that was really interesting to see the contrast, and all those people just having a great ton of fun flying around.
Yes.
That was just cool. Still waiting for the CNN lawsuit and fines for the drone accidents. Any more details?
I didn't hear about that.
So CNN had a clash. They lost a drone that fell on people and created hurt 3 people
Oh.
on the ground. During this was the Boston celebration for the Celtics, and so well, I'm sure there will be a lawsuit from the people that get hit,
Yeah.
no doubt, but I don't know how visible it's going to be.
Were they contracted pilots? Would they work directly for CNN?
Don't know the details. And it's also kind of, it's not, I'm not going to say fishy, but it is weird to me. Something is not adding up because it was reported there was a Mavic 3 that hit either a tree or lamppost or some kind of obstruction, and it fell down on people. Somebody got deep lacerations apparently on their hand. Somebody got was taken on a stretcher, and then there was another person that was injured.
A stretcher?
Yeah, 3 people injured from a Mavic 3 falling. Something is not adding up. So, and then also, if they were flying over people, it means that they had a waiver, because that's the only way to fly that drone over people.
Unless they didn't. I mean, were they?
Unless, obviously,
like,
unless they didn't. But if they did, they would have had a parachute and prop guards
Yeah.
on, which means laceration or nearly impossible.
Yeah.
And of course, with a parachute, unless it didn't deploy. So I don't know. There is, I think, the NTSB is going to have more information about that. Probably soon, a prelim, and then in about a year, we'll be seeing the rest of the detail on
Can't
this
wait.
case. Yeah. So it's those things, we talked about that this weekend. Those little events that the detractors are going to talk about.
Yeah.
The guy flying over the Blue Angel, that's something that we've seen coming back up in testimonies in Congress. The DJI being on the list,
Mhm.
that's a great asset for people like AUVSI to go and say, see, Chinese drones are bad because they're on the Chinese military list. But when you take away the reason why they're on there, then all of a sudden, what are they going to use, as an excuse?
Yeah.
So,
What's not going to make the news is their huge impact down in like Asheville area in North Carolina.
Yep.
Being able to use drones to
do rescue.
help people search,
Mhm.
rescue,
Yep.
just document damage. I mean.
Yep. No, I agree. Lou says Stefanik will have her hands full being a new UN ambassador. I saw that today. Maybe it will help and take her focus away from the DJI ban. That's also what I'm thinking, quite frankly. So, keep her busy with something else, give her a bone over there, and let her do
Dangle the toy
Yeah,
elsewhere.
exactly. It's like, yeah. And maybe she'll think a lot less about, taking away a Chinese competitor. But we'll see. We'll see. There's others, by the way. She's obviously been the most visible because she started, I think, the whole shenanigans.
Yeah.
And but I think we also have Rick Scott from Florida that's been very vocal. There was another guy from Montana, but I think he lost the re-election.
Rick Scott is looking to potentially be the Senate Majority Major, though. I'm not sure if that has
Yes.
any impact, but
It could.
Yeah.
I saw an article today.
He
But
would
it feels like
definitely-
there's also friction now that it's fully controlled by Republicans. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be.
it just seems like such a small thing to worry about.
Yes.
Like in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
a lot of other things going on. Like.
Don't we have other things that we could fix? Like, I don't know, like inflation, like interest rate, like all these things.
Could we also maybe make sure that there's a U.S. competitor set up, lined, ready to go that makes a good product?
Before we take away the only person that
Yeah.
makes drones for. Yeah. Agreed. But that means you need to have a brain to do that. Okay, Official Green Diamond says, how did you get a drone registered? Great question. Head over to the FAA Drone Zone. That's the only place to do it. dronezone.fa.gov. No, fadronezone.fa.gov. I think Jason will put a link in the description. But go in there, create an account, and then depending if you're flying recreationally or under Part 107, just follow the steps on the website.
The drone zone is surprisingly great.
Yes.
Like it's
Simple.
simple, it's very easy to use,
Yep.
and I don't mind it.
Yep.
Surprisingly.
So it is $5 for 3 years of registration. If you land anywhere else, make sure that it says .gov at the end. If you land anywhere else and
Yeah.
they want to charge you more than $5, you're on one of the Scheme website. Yeah, then it says scam. I said Scheme website that is trying to pretend to be the FAA, and don't be there. They charge like $50 or $60 to do that. Although I think they've mostly disappeared these days because now people are educated. Official Green Diamond says, when you say that in order to get a Part 107, you have to go to the FAA directly, does that mean I go on their website or do I go in person? Okay, so to get your Part 107 certificate, you have to pass an exam in person at a testing center. It's not with the FAA per se, it's with a company called PSI, and PSI does a lot of testing, including airplane testing. And you have to do the test in person over there. And then once you pass, then you can apply. And the way that you apply is you apply online. So
I got a comment from Eddie Nunez saying that he wished the audio was a little bit better. So
a little bit louder.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Cool.
Working on the audio. I have learning disability and I am part of our Part 107 program. Is there anyone that I can talk to about learning strategies? Thank you. Yeah, send us an email, Alex. If you are part of the community because you're part of our program. We have regular one-on-one sessions that you can do with an instructor and ask more questions. So Jason is running those. If you go into the community, you will be able to see those and then participate and then ask your questions directly to Jason. Official Green Diamond says, what should I do if I lose control of the drone in the sky and I have to crash? Well, just like every aircraft, try to crash away from people and fly it and try to put it down in a bush,
Tree.
in a tree. Well, tree is harder
Yeah.
because you have to go get it, but
Well, chances are, I mean, it's kind of hard to lose control.
it is.
You know, I mean,
It is.
the obstacle avoidance will stop you if you're close to hitting something.
Yep.
If you have it turned on.
Yep.
And all the other smart modes. I mean, if your controller dies, it'll just fly back to you. So, I feel like you'd have to try to really crash one of these drones.
Yeah, especially if you have a DJI drone or any kind of drone these days that has a GPS. It's almost, I mean, FPV drone will be easy to crash, but not any other drone. None New Business says, Billy, any recommendation for a new small business that's aiming for real estate photography?
Nice. So, I guess if you're looking to start doing real estate photography, it's funny, that's kind of what we filmed today, is a lot of stuff like talking about starting in the industry, trying to grow your own business. So, I mean, if you're not a part of Pilot Institute's community, definitely go ahead over there and take a look at that, because that'll probably be up within the next however long it takes you guys to get it done. So, I mean, it'll be available over there, as well as some other great content that they have behind their community page. But, if you're trying to look to get started with real estate photography, I think if you've got a drone and if you've got a pretty good camera with a wide angle lens, that's really all that you need in order to get started. From there, if you can find somebody that you know that's a real estate agent, that is a friend, that is a friend of a friend, that is just somebody, try to get your foot in the door, try to do some work, offer to do some stuff for free in the beginning, build yourself up a little portfolio, get your name out there, and like I mentioned in what we had done today, letting your name spread by itself, like word of mouth, is probably going to be the best way in order to grow your business.
Yep.
So,
No, those are all great tips. We did record a video today specifically for that, but we also have a ton of content on growing your business in the premium community. So we've got over 20 hours now of content that we recorded for specifically helping people get into business. So take a look at that. It's definitely a great value. And I'm
Let's
biased.
get that workshop tomorrow.
And we have a workshop tomorrow that we're going to be recording with Billy, which is also going to help with that.
lots of fun stuff in the works.
Yep. When I fly in the mountains and my takeoff point is at one level and I fly over a valley below, I'm suddenly way over 400 feet AGL. Yep. So is my official altitude from my launch point? No, it's not. So here's what's tricky, right? The controller on your drone indicates altitude above takeoff point.
Mm-hmm.
The altitude above the ground, we don't have that data displayed on the drone, but that's what you need to have to fly.
What kind of sensor would you need, and what do you think they'd be able to make it work with what they have right now?
No,
Or-
because it's that infrared sensor that they have
And it doesn't
underneath
have
the
enough
drone.
range on
it
it.
doesn't go far enough. I
Yeah.
think it's above 30 meters, which is 100 feet. So I think up to 30 meters, you can probably get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would need something, and it would change every second.
Uh-huh.
But with that being said, think about the spirit of the law here. Because, for example, where we live, there's not a single flat place. Everything is a hill. It's up or down. And so when we fly, we just fly and look at the drone and see where it's at. Do we fly at 410 feet? Yep, probably. Do we fly at, 450 feet? Yeah, probably as well. Does it really matter all that much? We have line of sight. We know the spirit of the law, which is to not fly way up there where, you're flying with other people that are in controlled airspace. So I wouldn't be so worried. It's like me driving my car and I'm in the 50 zone. do I drive 55 or 60?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, that's fine.
All right, bring them in, guys. We got them.
Well, sometimes even 65. No, never. I never speed. But yeah, that's, you get the idea. It's all about the spirit of the law. If you fly a little bit over, I don't think anybody's going to say anything. Now, if you go flying at 1,000 feet, then yeah, that's just stupid. But
yeah,
just use your common sense, I think, to fly in this
Think
case.
about the technology in the laser rangefinder that DJI has on their payloads.
Yep, they could
It'd
use
be
that.
cool to implement that into the drone so that you'd be able to tell your height from takeoff point, but then also show your height relative to whatever you're,
Yep. I mean,
flying over.
sometimes you fly around here, every once in a while, but we go to the top of a hill and it just keeps on climbing,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're at like 1,600 feet
Yeah,
from takeoff point.
and you can't get above it.
No, yeah,
like-
and then you're stuck.
Yeah.
But you're still 400 feet above the ground because there's just so much terrain around. So
I think my favorite is flying down from the top, and you have negative.
Negative, yeah.
You're at like negative 600 feet because
Yep.
you're so far down, which
Yep.
is kind of funny.
we did a long range test with the Avata 2, and that's what we did. We took off, and we wanted as much distance as we could ahead of us. And that's what we did. We flew from about 400 feet up and then dropped down. So we were negative 200 for a long time.
Yeah.
Just flying. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Hike and Fly says, do you guys know if the Air 3S is in store in Canada? Or do they also have to order directly from DJI? I don't know, actually. It's a
Yeah,
good question.
are they available? Because I know that
Yeah, they weren't.
It was only DJI at first.
Yeah.
Which you'd think would just help them curb the leaks. Maybe their leaks
Well-
come way before they'd be in stores. But people like at Best Buy, they just put them out on the shelf.
Yeah, they've done that. Best Buy is the number one offender of leaking drones.
So let's see. DJI Air 3S is not available on Best Buy's website, even to buy from their
Nope.
site.
Yep.
Just the classic Air 3, Mavic 3 Pro, Neo is on here.
So this could be Hike and Fly. This could be because of the issue that they had with imports lately. So I don't know. I'm sure Canada is a little bit different. I know there's not as much paranoia or everywhere else in the world about DJI. It's only a U.S. thing.
I know Lon.
Yeah.
Lon was trying to get the Neo, and he lives up in Michigan, and he was like, "I'm about to just drive over to Canada and buy it."
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I mean, if a DJI ban ever comes, that's what's going to happen.
yeah.
Is that people are going to go
You can
to
create a
Mexico
business.
and yeah,
Create a business just by
and then black market
Smuggling.
DJI. It looks like somebody says pre-order only. Crazy.
Yeah, there are probably some third-party dealers taking pre-orders. Best Buy had nothing, so
Yep.
I'm sure that there are other third-party dealers that are intending on getting them soon, and will probably take a pre-order.
Yep. Michael says, any new news on the DJI ban in Congress? No, they've been in recess and, of course, the election.
Yeah.
So they've been busy doing other things, which is good. Let's keep...
Are like on a real note, are you worried about it? Like, is there any part of you that's worried that?
With the election?
No, just at all, just in general. You could.
Oh, yeah, I
because of the
think-
election. Like, is there any reason to really be like? Worried?
I think there is a worry. I think there is a worry. I think we should not put it aside because it's come up so many times now from different angles.
Yeah.
And so it tells me that they're motivated, that they're not going to take no for an answer. I'm worried more for the recreational side of things
Yeah. Agreed.
because there's no replacement.
Yeah.
At least, and this is a horrible, it's a horrible backfall on, but at least there are other options that are not as good and way more expensive for enterprise people.
Sure.
So that won't shut it down. But take away DJI from that event
Yeah.
that we had this weekend. There's no event.
Yep.
There's no event and there's no drone for people to fly. So I think we definitely have to keep fighting. And that was my message this weekend to folks, which was we got to keep fighting with the lawmakers. We have to keep fighting with the people that are proposing bans. We have to keep fighting with lobbyist organizations like AUVSI that are pushing for these things. We have to keep telling them that this will affect you. This will affect you. This will affect your family. This will affect your well-being. It will have an effect, no doubt.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I do a lot of construction photography, progression stuff of heavy highway work, and I love to use the DJI drone because of all the features and functionality, camera quality. But like, the biggest thing for me is safety. Like, I know that I can trust that drone,
Yep.
and so going and finding something that's older because there's nothing new
No.
on the consumer side. Don't know if I'd be able to trust something in that.
no,
regard.
and my point also is that we would be stuck in 2025 technology.
Yeah.
For how long until we can get a replacement? That's not the way to do it. First off, if we believe that there is a threat, show me the threat, and then let's put a plan in place so that we can have people that can, come in and replace. Right now, if we pull the plug tomorrow, it is worrisome. It is worrisome. Yeah. So, and then, is the election going to make it any different? I think time will tell. I saw a question earlier, somebody asking if they believe that President Trump is going to go with the tariff that he's been talking about, the 60% to 100% tariff on drones.
This is Chinese goods in general.
On Chinese goods,
which would include drones.
Which would include Chinese drones. Then, that was his platform, right? That's what he ran to be elected. Is it going to happen? More than likely, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you think about, I personally, I think that DJI's drones are pretty inexpensive compared to especially like the alternative. I mean, first of all, there's not many alternatives, but like you look at a company like Skydio, and they're actually on top of the high cost of their drone, charging subscription models to
and 4 to 5 times the price of a similar drone.
Yeah.
So the only solace that I see in this is if indeed the Trump administration decides that tariff is the way to go rather than a ban, in which case we would end up paying more for drones because somebody's got to pay for it, which is the customer at the end of the day. Is it a good alternative? It's a better alternative to a ban, for sure. Is it a good alternative? I'll let you guys decide on that. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think a tariff is going to help increase competition.
Sure.
Because that tariff is not going to go to American drone manufacturers.
It's going to go to the government.
It's going to go to the government. And then second, we've had a tariff on DJI drones this whole time. We've had a 20 or 25% tariff for years now on DJI drone, and that has not changed the landscape and the people being more competitive. So I don't know that tariff is an answer in this case, unless those tariffs are being used to help American manufacturers get off the ground and create a whole ecosystem in the United States.
Good luck.
But that's
going to take a long time.
That's not what it's being sold as.
I think that another thing too, and you look at the tariffs, it's like these drones, you don't have to buy a new one every year. You could buy one and use it for years on end. So giving us the access to that technology, making it a little bit more expensive through a tariff, and let's say maybe upgrading every 3 years is not going to be the end of the world, because the average person is only going to need to buy one drone and they can live with it for a good amount of time. Look at Mavic 3. If you bought a Mavic 3 when it first came out, you're already at 3 years now, and you're like, okay, I'm ready for a new one.
Yep, I agree. Somebody says, if they build DJI drones in the US, will that subvert the tariff? Technically, yes, but I think the people that propose bans right now are after DJI as a company. I don't think it matters where the drone is being built. So, yep. By the way, a little feedback. They said that the sound is good. Sound has been matched. Both mics are perfect.
Sweet.
Good.
Nice job, production team.
It got some claps from behind the camera.
Right on time. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the latest, Michael. Sorry for the long answer. And then as far as CBP withholding DJI drones, I don't know. I don't know that I have a good answer on that, because ours came up a couple at the end of last week on Friday. So, and it was in customs for only a few days. So I don't know if other people are still having issues. Maybe that finally got resolved as well, which would be a big win, I think, for the community. But we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. XID says, do you have any experience successfully securing a permit to fly in New York City? You might have.
Yeah, so I work with another drone operator in Philly that does a lot of work in New York City, and he's been able to secure permits, COAs, like everything that's needed. What's very recent though now is kind of like throwing in the mixture of the New York City drone permit that you actually need to get out, so like the actual permit with the city.
Yep.
And I've heard that I haven't had to do it personally because I haven't flown up there since this permit was put into place, but it's very extensive what you need to give them. Like I've heard you need to let them know what you're going to do with the data that you capture, right?
Oh, really? And then you have to get each borough to approve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
very extensive and I don't know, stupid process. Like I think it's way over the top in my opinion. And I think that they're just, you look at the FAA, they govern the airspace, but of course Manhattan can kind of govern like what you do on the ground there, which is, are you allowed to launch, land, and operate from their
and that's
property
very restrictive as well. And that's another law on top. Yeah, it's definitely a difficult thing. I mean, give it a shot. Really, that's we were talking about this today about getting waivers or flying into the National Park Service. The worst they can say is no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Philly. We have like a little form that you fill out to let the Philly PD know that you're flying, and it's like a questionnaire form that takes 5 minutes, if that, to fill out and send. Okay, yeah, you're good. It's like not like it's like a request to fly. It's letting them know you're flying, which I prefer that a lot better than asking for permission from
I like
the
that.
police.
Ooh, we have a question from Eddie Nunez.
Ooh.
Eddie the Lip says, Eddie used to be on Ken's live show.
Yeah.
He was called Eddie the Lip. Question for Billy: does the Pilot Institute studio setup inspire you, since you only film in front of a gray backdrop?
I brought my gray backdrop with me, and I was going to put it just behind me
to be feel at home.
Yeah, to feel at home.
It's
but
like a security blanket.
Yeah, it was too big to check on the plane. So.
Well, Billy went to visit a new building this morning.
Yeah, this will be my last time in your mall studio. So
I hope.
Yeah,
we're still not in there, but they're making progress. So we've got a lot of painted walls and ceilings, which looks great. I think flooring and framing is going to start this week.
I found exactly where my desk is going to be, so it'll be
Which room?
Nice. The storage closet.
The storage closet? Oh, that's only like 700 square feet. That's not bad for a
workspace.
Studio, a workspace, yeah. I thought you were going to talk about there's a janitor closet. It's about 10 square feet, if that. What is the process for operating beyond visual line of sight? Beyond visual line of sight is going to take a waiver, and fairly complex at the moment, but the FAA is working on some regulation to make it a bit more routine. We are expecting the proposed regulation by the end of the year or early next year. My guess is early next year. And then we'll know more. But at the moment, it takes a waiver, which is fairly complex to get. We have sort of a limited range beyond visual line of sight with our fleet of drones. It is still fairly restrictive, can only be done in so many areas, and we need to have a NOTAM put in place. So yeah, it's not impossible, but it's going to take some wording to do.
Do you have any insight as to what they might require for BVLOS flight? Like, or maybe do you have a guess? Like, what would you guess would be like? Yeah. What you need to follow in order for? My guess is going to be short distance. My guess is there could potentially be two different types of beyond visual line of sight operation, a short range and then a long range, which I think for most people, they would want a short range distance. And I think in the short range, it probably will be a lot less restrictive. Sure. But I think in the long range, you will need probably a network remote ID that's going to always send you signal using 5G network. Sure. And then some kind of detect and avoid technology, whether it's technology on the ground with some kind of radar sensors or technology on board of the aircraft, some sort of a sensor that senses that another aircraft is coming close and then to avoid it. And then for short range, I don't know, because if you look at what we have, you need to have visual observers on the ground for us. We're limited to a certain distance and certain types of drones and certain areas. So yeah, it's pretty difficult to tell at this stage. But my guess is they're going to look at a lot of the waivers that they've done and the success that they've had with the waivers and kind of apply that to generalize a little bit more. Sure. But I think it's going to be more than people expect. It's not going to be as easy as just taking a test and being like, oh, I'm good. I can fly anywhere, anytime, beyond visual line of sight. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. This is all made up, by the way. I have nobody at the FAA is really talking about this. Everybody's very tight-lipped about this. Why don't you cover hover air drones? Have you covered that? No, I haven't. Eddie, who we just took a question from. Yep. Good, great guy, Eddie. Love that guy. He has the hover air, and when we got together, he had just gotten it. We were going to try to do a little comparison between that and the Neo, although we kind of, just ended up not. I think the hover air looks cool. Like, I think it accomplishes what the Neo does, but the Neo gives you more flexibility to fly FPV, fly in manual, put the goggles on, So I think from the hover air standpoint, better camera seems like to be a better tracking experience. Yep. But then you look at the Neo and you just have a lot more manual control options. And I hope that they come out with a Neo Pro, because that camera sucks. Yeah, that camera's There's just no no way around it. The camera sucks on that drone,
Yep.
which is a shame.
Yep. Now, the reason we haven't covered it, quite frankly, is because when the Neo came out, it was at a busy period for us. We did a couple of videos on the Neo because they had sent it to us. And then we've been busy with the move, with redoing courses and a bunch of other things. So we've been, it takes a long time to make these videos, a lot of resources. And sometimes we have to look at the balance of whether or not it makes sense to do it, from a financial perspective, to put all these resources in one direction when we have so many other things that we need to do. And also we're growing at the same time, growing different channels on the airplane side, on the drone side, on the helicopter side. We're creating other content. So it's difficult to juggle where you prioritize. And I'm sure it's the same for you. I'm sure a lot of companies send you stuff.
Yeah, especially with how many drones they release, DJI themselves, every single month it's like something new. Here's a question about the Neo. Got a lot of comments about people wondering like, hey, if I fly this with just pushing the button and it flies off with no remote controller, what's the, from a legality standpoint there, like?
We've talked about this a lot in the office. I do believe it's legal. I've tried to find a regulation that it would break, especially under Part 107, because that's the most convoluted regulation. There's nothing in the regulation that I see that would prevent us from doing that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of mind-blowing in a sense. I think it's one of these things that's kind of a gray area. Do I recommend it? No. I would always want personally to have control of the drone rather than just take off and then hope that it follows you. But the idea that the FAA says in Part 107 is that you have to be able to control the drone, but I don't think that's the word that they use. We had this discussion with Lon at
because he's the one that has been hammering it.
Yeah, he's been asking that question. But and I agree with him that in a sense it doesn't make sense. I don't recommend it. I think it's dangerous in a sense, although that drone is very small, but in concept. And then, but really from a regulatory standpoint, even the FAA told us. Someone at the FAA said, "Well, what regulation is it breaking?"
Yes.
And it's not. That's the bottom line.
I want a beacon. Like the beacon leaked, and I would love something like that. Like for me, the biggest thing is just to know what the battery is at. You know what I mean? Like I just want to know, like, oh hey, it's at 30%. Might want to figure out like my landing procedure, because if I'm riding my dirt bike or whatever, right?
You want to know.
I want to know that I need to plan to be like, okay, now I need to like get in a spot where I can stop, pull off, and swap the battery out.
Or if something is coming along, a delivery drone from
Amazon
is
Walmart.
coming around, and now you want to avoid it. How you can't control it. It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I agree.
So once we get mind control, it will be a lot easier.
Neuralink.
First time to take pictures. Is there a way to download pictures to my cell phone so I can text them to my daughter? I have printed them and I'm pleased. Hello to you and Billy. So Lawrence, it depends on your drone, but in most cases, from the app in itself, let's say you have a DJI drone, from the app in itself, you should be able to select them and then save them to your phone if you're using the phone to control the drone. If not, you can always pull the card out of the drone, put it in your computer, and then download your pictures from the SD card. So it depends. Depends on what you want to do.
Quick transfer has gotten good. You can turn on just your drone, leave the remote off, go into the app, the Fly app, tap on quick transfer for the drone that comes up, and then you can just access all the files from your phone, move them over wirelessly, and if you're just transferring photos, it should come over really quick.
Here's a great question from Lone Maverick. He says, I fly over a lake. I saw a pontoon airplane land on the lake. How do I prevent a collision? That's exactly why we need to have visual line of sight with our drone when we fly. And command of the airspace, aka you need to be able to see where stuff is in the airspace all around you, because like you said, you can be flying around a lake and then an airplane could be landing on that lake. And it's totally legal. So keep an eye out. I would say, keep an eye out to prevent a collision. Make sure that you're looking out there to see what's going on, and then get out of their way, really. Hopefully they have what's called ADSB, which they may or may not, depending if it's required in that area. ADSB is the signal from the aircraft that is being sent to some drones. DJI drones have the ability to get that signal, and then display it basically on your screen to tell you that they're right there. So, is there a way for someone to rent out a drone, like renting out an airplane, try before you buy kind of thing? Have you ever rented drones?
Yeah, I mean, Blue Sky's drone rental was at the Las Vegas drone meetup. And I don't know of any other companies or whatever that rents drones, but they're good. And I've rented a drone before that I needed for a job that I just didn't have the drone, so I rented it, built it into the cost of what the job was going to be, and that ended up working out. I think that Lens Rentals might also rent drones. So Lens Rentals is a great camera company that rents out camera equipment, and they'll ship anywhere in the US, and so they might also rent drones. You can also just look for somebody local, like you might have somebody in town that you can just go pick it up from, So there's a couple different options out there.
Yeah, I recommend it especially if it's a substantial purchase. You may also be able to get a demo. So let's say you buy an enterprise drone and you want to buy it from one of the resellers, then they'll come over and do a demo to show you, what
They should have a drone cage at Best Buy.
They should. That'd be fun.
We spend way too much time there.
Yeah. If we have a Best Buy literally around the corner here. Our high school football program, like 3,000 to 5,000 people. Stadium. Sometimes gets drones over games, and they have to stop the game until it leaves. What is something scary the announcer can say about FAA fines? Well, they'll be flying over people, which, depending on the type of drone that they have, may or may not be allowed, but there are very few drones these days that you can fly over people.
I would guarantee they're flying from somewhere where they can't even hear the announcer too.
Yes, that's true. They might be flying away from a further distance. So as far as fines, the guy that just got a $280,000 fine for flying like an idiot in Colorado, in Pueblo, allegedly was flying over homeless people and harassing them with a drone. And then the FAA found how many violations? 300 and some violations.
That guy
flying over people.
Drones and bums or something like that?
Yep.
Really? They hit him with a fine? Wow.
282,000, I think. So Philly Drone Life no longer has the
no longer a world record holder
of highest fine.
Wow.
Well deserved, by the way, in this case for this Pueblo guy. With a Part 107, can I comfortably fly 400 feet above any building for a commercial purpose? Would capturing photos and videos to improve my portfolio for my website qualify as commercial purpose? Yes. Anything that is not recreational is going to be not... You call it commercial, but it's really non-recreational. Mm-hmm. Part 107 is the non-recreational rule. It's actually the set of rules that applies for everyone except for recreational pilots. So as far as flying 400 feet above any building, that depends. It depends on what airspace you're in. So if you're in airspace that requires authorization, LANS, which is the software that the FAA has put in place, and if you need LANS approval, then you can only fly as high as what you were approved. So if you were approved 200 feet above the ground, that's 200 feet above the ground, not above any building. You're not allowed to add that to the height of any building. So if it's 200 foot AGL, that's it. That's all it is. As far as...
in the middle of nowhere.
400 feet above the ground and above any man-made obstacles, then yes, you can do that within 400 feet. But that requires a Part 107 certificate to do that. So in your case, you would need Part 107.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
This is what I talked about the other day about TFRs.
Yep.
I don't think that TFRs should impact drone flight in the way that they do now. I think Correct. It needs to be revamped.
Yep.
So I live in Philly. Biden is president right now, and anytime that he comes home, and with all the campaigning that has been done between the candidates for election for next year and for the next 4 years, I mean, like, there's been a TFR in Philly for like a week, like a full week.
Yep.
Right? And so this now impacts flight from the airport to like the suburbs outside of Philly, almost down to like the middle of South Jersey. 30
nautical mile radius. Yeah.
It's insane, like how much it can cover. And then if they're bouncing from airport to airport, it can cover a much larger area than that. At one point in time, the entire state of Delaware was a TFR because of how much activity was going on. So it's crazy to look at that and just think about, for me, doing real estate photography, I can't fly 50 feet in the air to take photos of a building, right? So I know that that's how it goes, but I would love to fight for that to be changed because of the 4 years that I've had to go through. That's been even last minute. Like last minute, I'm going out to a job, I pull it up, like there's a TFR, like this was not even scheduled.
And now you can't work. So
yes.
that has been an issue. That has been an issue actually. This was brought up 4 years before that, when Trump would go to West Palm, because there's a ton of flight schools in West Palm, and so flight schools just couldn't fly at all because of the TFR. So the same thing, that's every time you have a TFR travel like this, it creates a lot of issues. So what I would propose, quite frankly, is that a pathway for you to be able to fly during a TFR. So we have two options. We can reduce the size of the radius, which I don't think is going to happen, just because of, what's happened to Trump twice, right? But having a pathway for you to say, I want to fly for commercial real estate in this area. I'm going to be 25 miles away from the center, and I'm going to be doing this flight for 10 minutes, and that's it. As long as they know that you're flying and that you're supposed to be there, there should be a pathway for you to do that.
Yeah.
There's no reason, like you said, to block down an entire city and prevent people from doing that. So we've been working with a group to try to make suggestions to the FAA about stadium TFRs and about presidential TFRs. I don't know how much they're going to be willing to budge.
Yeah.
But that's it puts everybody in a difficult situation.
I understand the premise behind it. I get it. But I also just think about how crazy it is that my little drone, 50 feet in the air, 25 miles away, can't even do that. It's just,
no,
it's tough.
And if they know that you're there, then good. They know, okay, hey, Billy's going to be flying here. Oh, yep, I see it on the scope. It's right here, and he's not a threat.
They'll be like, don't worry, Air Force One will be 5,000 feet off the ground by the time that we get to where you're at.
Yep. Is Nebraska a good place to fly? I do not know. I don't think I've ever been to Nebraska. You have, I'm sure.
I haven't.
Really?
No, I haven't.
With all your travels?
Unless I've just driven through, but I think that Nebraska is probably a nice, flat, wide open, and a great spot to fly.
Yeah.
I don't know how much scenery you'll get, but airspace is probably pretty open.
Thank you for everything the team does. You're very welcome, Cody. What do you do as a 107 pilot that sees someone flying commercially without a license? When I tell them to get a license, they say it won't happen to me.
Well, that brings up an interesting question that was brought up at the Vegas Drone Meetup. If you see somebody online doing something that they shouldn't be, what do you do from there? I think public shaming is probably not the right move, right off the bat. If somebody is doing something they shouldn't be, don't go commenting, sharing, whatever. Maybe a private DM at first is fine, because you might look like the idiot if you're like, what are you doing flying over people? And they're like, well, I have a waiver.
Yeah.
It's oh.
Ask a question. So the tip that I gave during the event was go to them and say, hey, how did you get the approval to fly here or to fly over people? And who knows, like you said, they might have a waiver and they might have a good tip for you. Or they might be like, oh, I need approval. And now you've educated them without being a pain in the butt. So, and then I think there's two kinds of people. There are people that are breaking the rules because they don't know the rules. There are people that are breaking the rules because they know the rules and they just don't want to follow them. Yeah. And I think that last class, there's nothing you can do to educate them. There's nothing you can tell them that's going to change their mind. So if that person is telling you it won't happen, then they're in the second class. They're just not going to make it.
You need something really catastrophic to happen to those people to where they'd be like, okay. A near miss with the Coast Guard or something.
So then you have to decide, right? Is what they're doing dangerous? And if it is, then you report it to the FAA. I think it's a no-brainer. If it's something dangerous that they're doing, then you report it to the FAA and you let the FAA deal with it, And that's really all you can do. But
because that's not public. You're not, going out of your way and trying to make somebody feel bad online.
And if it's something that's going to hurt the industry, then I think it does need to be reported. So, Chris Ritchie says, is there any drone that are powered by gas engine? Yes. Maybe a lawnmower. I don't think I've seen a lawnmower engine. They are gas-powered drones. Yes, larger ones.
At Commercial UAV, I saw these gas-powered drones that were used for firefighting.
Yes.
They have a
little two-stroke engine.
They're out
Some
there.
of them have even a gas generator on board of the drone to recharge the battery.
That's how some of the electric vehicles are working now.
Yeah, they're electrically powered with a gas generator to recharge the battery, which defeats the purpose to me a little bit, but maybe not. Actually, for this, maybe not. Helicopters, yes, there are some. And then also he's saying that have an adjustable prop similar to a complex airplane or helicopter. I have not seen variable speed. I have not seen variable speed multi-rotors, but I have seen it in helicopters, obviously, because that's how helicopters work. But I have not seen it on multi-rotors. Official Green Diamond says never happened, but what should I do if someone just flat out told me to stop flying and they are not the FAA?
Keep flying. I mean, it depends. I mean, if they have the authority, it's at that point it would come down to where you're at. Like, if they have authority over the property you're on, like then you should probably listen to them. But if it's some Karen,
so that's the difficult thing, right? First off, I would say I'm finishing my mission, and I will be right with you, being very polite. They're not allowed to harass you as a pilot as you fly. That's a regulation. And then after they land, you can see the validity of their request. If they're the landowner, like Billy said, then step away because you can be trespassed. If not, then you can politely say, I'm sorry, but you don't have the authority. I'm going to keep flying, and I welcome you to call the police.
In situations like that, I almost want them to show up so that like it's just like they're like, he's not doing anything wrong, you know.
Well, it's like Tom at the meeting was talking about this weekend. He said, this lady came and said, well, you can't fly here, and he said, well, you're welcome to call the police. She said, well, the Rangers are on their way, and the Ranger came over, and he's like, is that the latest Avada? And then she said, well, he's going to give you a ticket. He's like, why would I give him a ticket? He's flying legally. So you can also end up with a law enforcement officer that doesn't know the rules, which is also a possibility.
I feel like more and more are, though. So when we were trying to fly with a friend's Koa at the Las Vegas Sphere, there was some Metro PD there, and he went over and just told them what we were doing, and they knew. Like they knew who to call. It was great that someone actually knew what they were talking about, knew what they were doing.
I think there is more and more education going on. So
and just I think a lot of police officers are like have a drone for fun to fly, you know. So they're in the community.
Folks, I don't think we're going to be able to go through all the questions tonight, but
I think I'm talking
because Billy talks too much.
I'm just taking his attention away, guys. Sorry. You want to do rapid fire?
We can do rapid fire. Okay. Any drones on the market that can be controlled by a computer with a remote transmitter transceiver up in the air?
DJI Dock 2.
Using several computer monitors for the operation.
DJI Dock 2.
Yeah, the Dock 2. Also, you can do a custom build drone, but realistic Mavic 4 hopes and improvements.
I got a list.
Yeah? You do actually. You called me about one of those.
Yeah.
I told you that I wanted
dual SD card slots, USB-C port right on the battery so I can charge batteries, faster, longer flight time. Give me one main sensor with optical zoom, none of that multi whatever.
I want one sensor too.
One sensor, and I don't need 7x. Give me 3x zoom from 1 to...
You know what I want? I want one sensor with a rotating lens.
Sure,
that goes in front of it, and then you can click.
Yep.
1x, 3x, 5x. I don't want 7x, I want 5x.
But you've got to land and switch it.
No,
unless it was a servo.
It's
or
electronic.
Whatever.
And then it just rotates.
If they do that, you can sue them for...
I know, patent. I've said it like 3 times online already, so if it happens now, you're very welcome, folks. Healthy Living says, I must say thank you for the course. I passed and I'm now Pilot 107 certified. Just one question. Are you a part of the French intelligence? It's a good question.
He can't answer that.
If I tell you, I'd have to kill you. No, I have not lived in France in 22 years.
That's what France intelligence would say.
That's right. That's the official answer. I've only gone back to France once in the last 5 years, officially.
Officially.
There's a joke somewhere about French and intelligence, but...
That they're not very?
None Your Business says, Billy, how long does it usually take to do a photo shoot, real estate, construction progress, just the time on site?
Yeah, it depends on size. Like a house, usually like around 30 minutes. If a house is ready to go, jump in, can do the photos. Anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes to an hour if it's a bigger home. Construction progress could depend. If it's a small house, could be there for 15 minutes. If it's a big warehouse, could be 45 minutes just trying to get around the site. If it's a big highway project where you've got to have multiple launch points because you're not trying to fly over the highway, 4 different spots, it could be like 2 hours. So it depends on the size. Yeah.
Makes sense. Michael says, if DJI is banned, what other drone manufacturers do you recommend? Unfortunately, on the recreational side, there's no replacement that I can think of. That's not Chinese. Yes, Spectre. That's true, Spectre. On the commercial side, I would say the green drone, the Enzu. And then depending on your budget, a Skydio X10. That's really expensive if you can find batteries these days. But yeah.
They'll ban the Chinese drones, but you have to get the Chinese Skydio batteries for your drone.
Yep. Atal says, what if DJI sells its operation to an American company? Not going to happen. I mean, and that's to me, that's an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
Imagine China saying you need to sell Apple to China.
Well, it depends on DJI's market share. I mean, if they think that it's actually worth it, they might try to appease the U.S. government by opening operations here in some capacity. But I mean, they already have boots on the ground with an office in California. They have some service centers, throughout Texas.
I think the detractors would never care about that. The AUVSI of this world would continue to say that it's.
Who even are
threat.
they though? I don't
They have 7,000 followers, so they're big. That's sarcasm. Thoughts on flying my new Firehouse Light with something other than white, green, blue, red? Any problem with different colors? No, not really. I mean, let's put it this way: if you're putting the light on top of the drone, there's no color requirement from the FAA for the strobe light. Although I would recommend white because it is the easiest to see from a distance. Blue and red, we know blue and red in the US is used with something else. Red is hard to see.
Yeah.
I would stick with white, quite frankly. But with that said, you can put additional lights on the side of the drone to help with the orientation of the drone. I would put green on the right and red on the left. That's the standard for boats and airplanes. So and any type of aircraft. Okay, true or false? Drones need to be able to connect to the internet, either Wi-Fi or cell phone service. That is false.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of AUVSI, the CEO of AUVSI tried to make a claim that you needed to be connected to the internet until Vic told him that it wasn't true, and then he argued with Vic, the guy.
Shows how much he knows about drones.
Who has never flown a drone, is trying to argue with Vic that flies drones every day that the drone needed to be connected. So, those are the people that are representing you in front of politicians. Eric says, is first-person view still allowed to fly by yourself? No, never been allowed to fly by yourself. You need a visual observer to fly with FPV goggles. I have a DJI Air 3S. I'm in New York. I'm in New York, not in the city, but have a Part 107. Do I need a parachute to fly for real estate and roof inspections? No, you don't. Nope. You just cannot fly over people or people in moving vehicles.
Yep.
I fly in Class Bravo airspace often because I live near Philadelphia. I checked the name. My controller never notifies me of an oncoming aircraft, even though the planes fly directly over my house. Is that normal? Well, it depends on what you fly. So, Jay, I don't know what you fly, but any DJI drones that came out in the last 3 or 4 years, 3 years maybe, that is over 250 grams, should have that functionality, but make sure it's turned on.
It's under the safety section and it's AirSense.
AirSense, yeah. So make sure that AirSense is turned on. I don't remember if it's turned on by default. It may not be.
It should be.
Oh, okay.
I think it should be.
Yeah.
But who knows? Some things, when you update, get turned off. And
that's true.
Poking around the settings.
John says to touch back on the previous question that someone said about having a permit to fly in New York. Is the permit for also recreational flying jobs? No, I think it's only for Part 107. I don't think you can fly recreationally in New York City other than in the parks that are approved. How do I get photo videos from the RC2 controller to my other devices? The SD card holder is problematic, so popping it in and out is not desired. You can plug it in on Mac, I don't know about Windows, but I'm sure on Windows it's a little bit easier, but on Mac you need to have an Android file transfer app to do that. Then you can plug it in and you'll be able to see all the files that are in the controller. And I'm pretty sure it's under DJI. I don't remember the
album.
Path.
There's album,
images. You'll see it. Go through the different folders and you'll find it in there. But with that being said, the photos and the videos don't go onto the controller. They go on the drone. Yeah. They don't get saved in there.
Well, you can quick transfer, screen recordings, for example. When I do a screen recording from the RC2, you can go to your album and quick transfer that off of the controller to your DJI Fly app on your phone. So that's another way to get it off. So you can do everything wirelessly as far as file transfer is concerned.
Yep. Yeah, file transfer is great. Name of this channel is Old Fart with an Osmo Pocket 3 and drones. Will the Air 3S be compatible with Goggle 3?
Maybe. I don't know. That'd be nice.
Never know.
Air 3 is compatible, so Air 3S should be.
Yep. Richard says...
Let me just say, though, that experience sucks. You ever tried
Is
it?
it?
The Goggles 3 with the Air 3, using the goggles but then flying with the regular controller is terrible.
Is difficult, yeah.
There's no vision assist, so you can't see what's to the side of the drones. You would imagine that vision assist would be insanely helpful with that, but there's none. So if you're flying to the right, you're completely blind. You
Yeah.
can't see what's to the side, and yeah, just not.
I
it's
don't
not
like
good.
flying non-FPV drones with goggles.
Yeah, not good.
Richard says, we're almost done, folks. Look at that. Is it normal to be cautious about trusting your DJI drone after a flyaway? Yeah, of course. But try to figure out why there was a flyaway. I have not heard of flyaways
I know.
since the Phantom series.
Yeah.
Phantom 1, 2, and 3. The 4 kind of fixed it, but before that. So try to find out exactly what happened there. Aman says, are any of you testing the Mavic 4 Pro?
I wish.
If that is coming out. If we did, we could not tell you, unfortunately, but we're not.
I wish.
Billy would tell us.
Billy would tell us. Billy would tell us because we are under the same NDA with DJI, but we can't.
I wish.
We would not be able to say it publicly. Eddie Nunez says, should I buy an Inspire 2? The answer would be no, unfortunately.
no.
My favorite drone of all times is the
Eddie
Inspire
is just
2.
like a hobbyist. He doesn't do much commercial drone work, so he could buy whatever he wants. He could get away with just a little Neo for his fun drone adventures.
No, the Inspire 2 unfortunately is past its prime. The transmission system is
He's been messaging me. He's
outdated.
dealing with an Inspire 2 right now. He
No.
was. See what I love about the Inspire 3 is the SSD has a USB-C port on it. So you
Yep.
plug it in, and
Yep.
then when you take it out, it just goes right into the
You
computer.
don't need the bulky
Yeah.
heater. It's a heater and a file transfer at the same time. If I film a video in my neighborhood and there are houses in the video, do I need to pay them? No, you don't.
No.
Or should I just not fly? No,
I'd-
you're good. You're good.
I've been in some situations when doing real estate photography that you're flying over other people's homes and they come out with a full head of steam. And I mean, there's nothing they can do about it.
No.
Like, it's not. They
Just
can't
be-
tell you where you can and can't fly your drone.
Yeah,
So.
just be mindful. Don't hover over people's backyards.
Yeah.
Don't hover by people's windows. Just be mindful, and then I think things will be fine.
I had a recent job. I was doing a bunch of photos of a dorm at a college. And so we did a bunch of dorms over the summer, and then they wanted to add one more, and so I just went back to do it. And as soon as I went back and started flying around with all the people, I told the guy, I was like, listen, man, like we got to do something here because I'm taking photos on the facade of the building so that we can look at where all the cracks are and everything.
Yep.
And like you can see into these kids' windows.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like so immediately I was just like, dude, we gotta
It doesn't feel right.
yeah, we got to figure something out. We have to put out a report. We have to let everybody know. But even at that point, not everybody would check their email.
Yeah.
So it was just like I was trying to think. I was like, can we just wait until like Thanksgiving break or something to do this?
Yeah.
Like I'll come out on a holiday to get this done.
No,
that's
makes
not.
sense. Yep. Where can I find a map of active TFRs? Before you fly used to be my to-go. Now I don't know what to use. Aloft Air Control or Aloft Air Aware. Air Aware is the recreational app. Air Control is the Part 107 app. So download one of those two, and then you'll be able to get all that data.
I've been kind of disappointed with air control recently. It logs me out every time that I try
Me
to get
too.
in.
I hate that.
It just feels clunky. I don't know.
The logout, I need to talk to John about the logout because every time I have to log in, every time I launch the app. And I
Yeah.
know Ken had the same issue.
Yeah,
so.
I just want to make my password like 3 like ABC so I can just quickly.
Yeah. Oh, I had to set a password that I remember because otherwise I
Yeah.
can never find it. So, all right. Well, folks, it is 5:02. We made it.
Nice,
We
cool.
made it. 85 questions today.
Sweet.
That was a ton.
Nice.
So, well, Billy, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Folks, thank you for watching and asking questions with Billy. And then Billy will be here tomorrow as well. Like I said, creating some awesome content. We have Friday news update coming up, and then we will have our Friday happy hour at 4 o'clock in the community at the end of the week. Billy will not be here, but
No,
we'll
unfortunately
have
not.
a toast for him. And then we'll have some updates, I'm sure, about the building in there. So if you want to join us with something a bit more cozy, where we can be behind a login wall, where we can say a few more things publicly, then join us. And that's it. That's all we have. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you, everyone.